Hi, everyone. We would like to welcome you to a short series of interviews with a variety of guests that are joining us during Recovery Month and Day to celebrate recovery and highlight that recovery is possible. Besides being a celebration, Recovery Month also showcases that recovery is a pathway that one cannot walk alone. Even though recovery works in parts through individual efforts, the soil and structural environments are essential. Therefore, we should put efforts in creating the right environment to recover by reducing stigma and allowing a person in recovery to grow in their own pace. Before moving on to the interviews, I would briefly like to introduce ourselves. My name is Cressida and I'm representing the World Federation Against Drugs, which is a multilateral community with almost 370 non-governmental organizations and over 500 individuals from 64 countries. Our members represent all regions of the world. Our common aim is to strengthen prevention, increase access to treatment, and promote recovery. And we believe that only together we can work towards reaching this goal on a global level with a gender and child-sensitive perspective. My dear colleague Mulka is representing our WFAD Gender Working Group, and I would like to hand the word over to her to introduce herself and the working group.
My name is Mulka, and as Cressida said, I'm today on behalf of the Gender Working Group, which was created within the WFAD to specifically address the drug use and addiction among women, gender-based violence, and also its correlations with the healthcare, treatment, and recovery. So, Boro, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. First of all, I want to ask you to introduce yourself and a little bit about your work.
Hello, Mulka. Hello, Cressida. Thank you very much for inviting me for this interview. My name is Boro Goic. I'm living and working in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in capital of Sarajevo. And I'm a president of Celebrate Recovery, NGO that is dealing with addiction and recovery problems in Bosnia and Herzegovina and region, Balkan region. And also I'm a chairman of RUN, which is a Recovered Users Network.
Wonderful. That's really great. Thanks for the introduction. We would like to hear more about Celebrate Recovery and its work in the area of recovery and how you consider and see recovery. These are almost three questions in one, but I hope it makes sense.
Yes. Not easy to answer in the short period about that everything, and I don't want to talk so much about our activities, which are many, but maybe Celebrate Recovery, we can consider our current work in some four areas, and this will be like a motivation of people who has problem with addiction. It's individual counseling of those people, and the aftercare of people who had a problem with addiction and they are in recovery process, and asking from our staff some kind of support in this situation. So basically this is for the people who been in some rehab center, coming out and want support in the current situation. What is maybe good to mention is that we are providing a helpline in our organization, which is anonymous and free. And this is maybe something what in other countries maybe exists, and it's and it's have a knowledge and people have a knowledge about that. But in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we are only NGO that is providing such services. And what we realized that if you have a helpline that is free and anonymous, and that the people can call, and not only people who have a problem with addiction, that also the loved ones in the way of families, parents, brother, sister, husband, you know. So then you have a first step that the people are calling that helpline and asking for help. And when we think about addiction and when we think about recovery, we know how addiction is sometimes, you know, in the way of, they put you in the way of slavery. Somehow you feel yourself, you know, that there is no help for me. There is no help for my family. I don't know how to help myself or somebody in my family. But first call is not the healing, but it's a first step. And this is very important, that after the first call, when we provide really only a listening service, let's say like that. We let the people talk about their problems, and they see that they are not in their problem alone. And there is a hope that exists behind that problem. And with that first call, they are coming inside of some different space. And that different space is the space of where hope exists. So not only hope, then the provision of the different services or provision of the different things, that we can provide for them. Sometimes this is a next meeting, individual counseling. Sometimes this is arranging some Zoom meetings if the people are not in possibility to come. And sometimes this is just sending them to some other service providers. Sometimes this is a detox. Sometimes it's psychiatric hospital. Sometimes some rehab center or some other NGO. So basically, we consider ourselves as a service providers, but also as a somebody who will provide you some other kind of service. And helpline shows that the people don't want to call the hospital always, or to call that kind of service providers. When they first time call somebody, then they will call us. And this is really something what we want to use, and where we want to show people that recovery really exists, and that recovery is not an easy process. It's not a process that we can say, okay, today you are starting and in the 2 years you will be finished with your recovery. So recovery is really not a linear process. It's up and down, but and exists. So this is the most important message. So people can recover it through the different kind of support and tools that they will get on their journeys. So basically we can say for us, Celebrate Recovery is providing some kind of tools for a people to achieve some stage in their lives where they can be more in the way, and in the possibility to say no to drugs and yes to some drug-free lifestyles.
Yeah, that's amazing introduction to our next question, and that's how is recovery actually perceived in society by key stakeholders in the Balkans, and sometimes it can be a great obstacle to recovery.
Yes, it's a very good question. We cannot provide all recovery tools that people can be helped during their recovery process. So it needs to be multi-sectorial, and then it's a problem. I think if we think what was 10 years ago, people knew only that recovery is something what is truly abstinence-based, etc. They didn't realize that recovery is some process that can even exist in the hospitals, that can exist in the communities, that can be supported inside of the family. So everybody is a recovery provider. If we support enough people in their process. So basically key actors didn't recognize the whole benefits of recovery, but through our engagement and through our advocating process that is really hard, we think that we are now in the phase, after 10 years of providing information where people understand it is questionable how much they are supporting it. They are supporting it, but still we want to see better results. For example, when we look into some research about stigma among professionals, how do they consider recovery? Do they realize difference between early recovery, which is the first year of recovery, and stable recovery, which is after 5 years of that process in recovery? We don't see a big differences. So it's much more to work on that, and it's an evidence-based thing. So recovery is not something what we made. This is something what is happening in communities. This is something what happens inside of the persons that can be measured, and we need to provide more evidence-based, measurable activities, what recovery process is bringing, that the people, stakeholders, I'm not speaking about society, I'm speaking about professionals, can see that this is something that they can also use as a methods in the work, and not only reducing harm, then also, combining those different services, that can be help for more people.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, like it's an approach that has to be taken on multidisciplinary level. You also mentioned earlier that you are part of RUN. So I was going to ask, can you tell us more about RUN and the importance of networking? And are there any activities soon that are promoting recovery, such as conferences, for example?
Yeah, yes. Let's say Recovered Users Network is a political platform where different recovery organizations needs to have a common ground and to advocate for more balanced drug policies. What happened? We saw that is lacking of recovery organizations that will be loud. We don't want to be loud and to scream, we want just to be recognized. And we see that there's no recognitions. We saw that no recognitions in the European Union, in the United Nations, and we start to, let's say, to build some network in between different recovery organizations that are strongly working in the grassroots levels, and then to ask them to come to some high-level drug policy arenas and to try to advocate for that. This is also something what is visible. It's hard to measure how much we changed. We see it in the wordings, in the different policies. We see it visible in the outcome document, in the UN, in the EU drug policies also, but I think it's a very important that we have Recovered Users Network for that. And also that we have some organization, some political platform that will connect and somehow make a balance in between different recovery pathways. We have always side effects in the recovery organization where people in recovery think, okay, yes, my process of recovery was the only important one, was the only one which is the right one. And this is something what is not good, because we cannot consider only our way is the right one. We need to accept other recovery paths. So when we are working, we really want to hear different recovery paths and to support that. And this is not easy thing to support different recovery paths. But we want to see people developing in their lives. We cannot say my way in Bosnia, in Serbia, and Croatia is the best way. Then we need to think, okay, somebody from United States has a totally different background. He's culturally different, and he grew up differently, and now he's recovering differently. And we need to support that, So this is the part why RUN exists. And of course, as a part of that, you need to organize some events and to connect with everybody. Now, the next event that we are organizing is in Belgrade as a second regional forum on addiction and recovery. And it will be held now in Belgrade between 7th and 10th of November in 2022. And the guests are also people who are working in the different recovery organizations. And it will be not only narrative and good testimonials. No, it will be more evidence-based, what they are working, what is their knowledge, where they see the challenges in their work. And the participants will be all those key actors that we mentioned. So this is that combination. Through RUN, we are bringing different speakers from recovery organizations, from different universities, from this academic people from that area of influencing, and also participants from the field in Balkans that are working directly with the clients. And it's very important that we are changing slowly the mindset of stigma, once an addict, always an addict, of a stigma that you need to be always in some ghetto of methadone treatment. In a stigma, you need to be constantly surrounded by the ex-users or you cannot survive, etc. We need really to find the platforms where we will support people in the different stage of recovery, that they can be reintegrated into society.
Yeah. Definitely, and definitely run is something that really will grow in time, and I'm sure that many organizations will see the benefits of networking and engagement in some bigger organizations. And as the aim of these interviews is also to promote the websites that spread hope, recovery evidence, and also innovations from around the world, we also wanted to touch base with you about the unique resource that you built inside of this project, Choose Recovery. And we will link this website in the chat so everybody can access it. But can you tell us more about the website?
Yes, the website is really unique for our Balkan region, because we developed website as a response of the so many news that we are reading about the drugs, which are totally something what is not giving us knowledge about. So news like 2 overdose deaths, or news like custom catched 100 kilos of marijuana again, news like that we wanted to replace with something which is really informational. So first, to give a right information about harms of the drug using, with the titles of how to recover from that. Then what we did also educational character in that website, Choose Recovery, that people who wants to read that. I don't think that many people want to come to some website which is explaining something about drugs and recovery and addiction, wants to read, but something that will educate you about backgrounds of addiction and backgrounds of recovery. And also there is some advocating character in that website. So a lot of news that we are collecting from the world, we are translating and putting inside of that the people who are coming there can find what is happening now, for example, in Colorado, 6 years after the legalization of marijuana. Is that everything like they think it will be, or what are the really benefits of recovery? Or if we have some kind of project, and if we have some forum like this one or conference, we are announcing through that. And we have about, all 3 countries, in each country about 200 entrances a day. What is not bad when we think that really not everybody is interested in addiction and recovery. But then we come again, we need to provide information. We never know what information can bring in those people that are really in need of getting those information. So maybe some kind of hope. And, we are speaking a lot about hope because sometimes we are putting hope, something right behind. And this is not good. We need to put hope as a first. From the hope, we will come everywhere. If we forget the hope exists in this area of addiction and recovery, then I don't know how to go further. So basically, if somebody reads something on that website, we don't need maybe to get on the phone with them. Maybe they will ask some service in their areas, in that town, and then get some help. So basically, we cannot follow everybody. We cannot follow everything. We need to provide different informations, to provide hope, to provide the right services and the tools. And recovery will happen because recovery happens, and this is the right information for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't say it even better. It's the website is indeed impressive, and as you said, the recovery is something that we need to continue spread information on, since there are so many misinterpretation of it and misconception. So leading to the last question, as this interview is part of Recovery Month, do you have any message for Recovery Month, Recovery Day, even though it was already quite strong?
It's very nice that we can celebrate that we can remind ourselves, okay, this is a Recovery Month. It's something that we need to spread even to the key stakeholders and to tell them recovery exists, and to repeat and whole year, not only through the Recovery Month. But more visibility must be in the recovery organizations. We need really to put the stigma away and to bring our voices in front of people, in front of cameras, in front of society and that they can see that not only recovery is possible, then the recovery also is positive examples are also fuel for society. I will say like that. We don't live in some easy times with all what's happening around us. 2 years ago, COVID period, and now we have threats through the whole Russian-Ukraine conflict, and really some positive examples and something that brings fuel to society are very welcome. So basically, if it's there some message for the recovery day or recovery month is more visibility for the people in recovery and more visibility for everything what's happening around it. And I think that through that, people like to see positive examples. People maybe will read more negative things, will behave more negatively, but everybody from us likes to hear and to see something positive. And this is our benefit, and we need just speak about that, to have evidence-based researches about that, to have sessions where we will talk about that, and things will move slowly. And when we move things slowly, then we have only in mind, okay, that last client who asked for help will be helped because somebody provided information several years ago and services changed and brought the hope for those persons. And now those persons can also bring a positive fuel in society.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for leading the recovery movement in the Balkans. That's really good.
Thank you also.